Hello. Hello. Right. So recording is started. You can write your roll numbers in the chat box, so that we can start with the lecture. Is my screen visible? Can someone respond? Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, fine. Right. So this is lecture number 33, and today we are going to discuss the remaining things of Unit 3. So development of low power applications and this basic embedded C program for on-chip peripherals. So these 2 points we will discuss today. Right. So for that, let us go through the slides. So development of low power application. This would be the first point of our discussion. Right. So before I move on, I would like to know what do you mean by development of low power application? Because when we say an application, it could be anything that is being utilized by ordinary people, right? So the application here we are intended to have an electronic application, electronic device or electronic gadget, which have to be a small, right? So when you say a small electronic device, it should be a battery operated, right? And when I say a battery operated, it should possess the property of low power consumption, right? In order to extend the battery life, in order to have the battery which is lasting so long. So for any battery operated application, we should ensure that we are developing the application with a low power assumptions, with a low power things, right? So what should be the basic aim? Of course it would be the reducing the power consumption, right? Now tell me one thing, how you can reduce the power consumption, how one can reduce the power consumption. Sachin, बरोबर. So how one can reduce the power consumption? Of course, the answer should be by keeping the processor in a sleep mode as much as possible. How you can save the power? How you can preserve the power? By keeping your device in a sleep mode as much as possible. So this is the way, effective way of saving a power, right? So here we are going to save the power. I told you one example. If you are talking about a smart watch, the watch should be running all the time, you know that, but the time instant is of 1 second, right? So you can keep your watch in a sleep mode for remaining 999 microsecond, and the watch will wake up for only 1 microsecond to increment that last digit of second. Getting my point? So in a watch you save a lot of power. In fact, you should say, right? So here in a developing low power application, now let us focus on low development of low power application. And I told you how you can do it by keeping your device in a sleep mode for maximum time. So same thing I'm going to tell you here in this concept, development of low power application. Now in this application, we can reduce the power consumption by using low power features of Cortex M3. Some suggestions are given here. Actually, there are two suggestions. You can use any one of them. Number one, you can change your code. You can change your code structure and make it interrupt driven application. This is first way of reducing the power consumption. तुम्हाला काय करता येईल, जे application आहे, that application you can make it as इंटरप्ट ड्रिव्हन ऍप्लिकेशन. इंटरप्ट ड्रिव्हन ऍप्लिकेशन म्हणजे काय, की ते ऍप्लिकेशन जे आहे ते इट विल बी ऑलवेज इन अ स्लीप मोड, आणि ज्यावेळी इंटरप्ट येईल त्याच वेळी तो प्रोसेसर वेकअप होईल. only it will be active only for that duration of time. Means what? During interrupt handling the processor will be operating, otherwise it will be in a sleep mode. So this is first way of saving the power. Second option is, I can take it to next slide. Try to make a processor stay in a sleep mode as much as possible, hence reduce the processor duty cycle. For example, it is written here. So sleep on exit is another category. म्हणजे इंटरप्ट हँडल करून झाला की परत स्लीप मोड मध्ये जाणं, हा एक वे आहे जेणेकरून तुम्ही पॉवर सेव्ह करू शकता. नाउ हियर वी कॅन अंडरस्टँड दिस लो पॉवर फीचर, लो पॉवर ऍप्लिकेशन विथ द हेल्प ऑफ स्नेक गेम. तुम्ही जुन्या स्टाईलचे मोबाईल जर बघितले असतील तर त्याच्यामध्ये स्नेक गेम असायचे. हाऊ मेनी ऑफ यू हॅव प्लेड विथ दिस स्नेक गेम? फीचर्ड मोबाईल्स असायचे ज्याच्यामध्ये तुम्हाला काही कीबोर्ड आणि त्याच्यावरती स्नेक गेम वगैरे अशा गेम्स असायच्या. सो यू माइट हॅव you might have enjoyed that game. So can someone tell me how the game behaves? जी स्नेक गेम होती आपल्या जुन्या मोबाईल्स मध्ये असायची. आपल्या जुन्या मोबाईल मध्ये असायची ती स्नेक गेम. कुणाला सांगता येईल हाऊ इट वॉज इट यूज टू बिहेव? बघा, स्नेक गेम ही गेम अशी होती की जी गेम खेळल्यानंतर तुमची बॅटरी लो होत नव्हती. स्टँड बायला असल्यासारखंच वाटायचं, स्टँड बाय मोडला. स्नेक गेम कोणी खेळलाय? If yes, please tell us how it behaves, how it operates. सांगता येईल कोणाला? इफ यू हॅव प्लेड विथ द स्नेक गेम, स्नेक त्याच्यामध्ये असणारा स्नेक कसा बिहेव करतो, कसा इंटरफेस असतो, कोणते कोणते बटन्स असतात जे प्रेस केल्यानंतर काय घडतं? एनीवन is interested to share this snake game story?
So it was operated using four buttons, that is up, down, and right and left.
Correct. Anything else?
And if a snake eats that egg, which is wherever it is placed,
Okay.
we have to go till that egg and when it reaches, it eats that egg, and after eating each egg, the size of snake or the length of snake
Length of snake.
increases,
Correct, correct.
and as it gets increased, the difficulty level increases.
Difficulty level increases. Correct. Very nice, Amit. See here, two things you have to note for snake game. We are our intention to make it a low power application. We are developing. I'm talking like a developer of snake game. Main intention of developer is to reduce the power utilized by that application, right? So you have to keep your processor in a sleep mode all the time wherever it is possible. So if you observe, now I'm telling you the basic functionality of snake game. Very correctly mentioned by Amit, there are two major steps. Number one, the snake is operated by 4 buttons: up, down, left, and right. Second thing, the snake will be moving ahead every time after 1 second. It will move ahead. It will step next. It will step to next place every time, right? So every time means every second. Every second the snake will move its position and it will go to the next step. Next step means it will move ahead every second, right? So a couple of things happens here. Some of the things are automatic, means what? Every second the snake will move ahead by 1 step. This is first thing. And second thing, in order to turn the snake, in order to move the snake left or right, you have to use the buttons, right? Now let us assume you are having a processor which is controlling that snake, right? And whenever you are playing with this game, means what? The snake will move ahead by 1 step for every second. Means what? Again, 1 second is having 1000 microseconds. So you can shift your snake to the next step in 1 microsecond, and your processor is ideal for rest of the 999 microseconds. So you can put your processor in a sleep mode for 999 microseconds. तो स्नेक एक स्टेपनी पुढे ढकलण्यासाठी तुम्हाला फक्त 1 मायक्रोसेकंद सफिशियंट आहे. इट इज सफिशियंट, राइट? सो यू कॅन यूज that 1 microsecond to step up. Means what? Step forward. And for rest of the 999 microsecond you can keep your processor in a sleep mode. ठीक आहे. हा हे झालं बेसिक फंक्शनॅलिटी. म्हणजे प्रत्येक सेकंदानंतर तो एक स्टेपनी फॉरवर्ड पुढे जाईल. त्यानंतर आता इथं जी आता मी या स्लाइड वरती सांगितलं होतं, ट्राय टू मेक इट इंटरप्ट ड्रिव्हन. इंटरप्ट ड्रिव्हन मीन्स व्हॉट? बघा या ठिकाणी मी तुम्हाला सांगितलं होतं, यू ट्राय टू मेक इट इंटरप्ट ड्रिव्हन, राईट? सो दिस इज इंटरप्ट ड्रिव्हन ऍप्लिकेशन. म्हणजेच काय, तुम्ही एका मायक्रोसेकंड मध्ये तो स्नेक फॉरवर्ड स्टेप फॉरवर्ड केल्यानंतर पुढचे 999 मायक्रोसेकंड तो स्लीप मोड मध्ये असणार आहे. ठीक आहे. त्या 999 मायक्रोसेकंड्स मध्ये जर तुम्ही लेफ्ट किंवा राईट बटन प्रेस केलं तर एक इंटरप्ट जनरेट झाला पाहिजे. त्या इंटरप्ट मुळे तो प्रोसेसर वेकअप झाला पाहिजे आणि करस्पॉन्डिंग ऍक्शन त्या स्नेक वरती घेतली पाहिजे. म्हणजेच काय, स्लीप मोड मध्ये असताना जर लेफ्ट बटन प्रेस झालं तर इंटरप्ट जनरेट झाला पाहिजे आणि त्या इंटरप्टचं सब रुटीन मध्ये काय असलं पाहिजे? टर्न द स्नेक इन अ लेफ्ट डायरेक्शन. हिअरिंग माय पॉइंट? आणि परत इमिजिएटली तो स्नेक लेफ्टला टर्न केल्यानंतर इमिजिएटली तो स्नेक, तो प्रोसेसर परत स्लीप मोड मध्ये गेला पाहिजे, वेटिंग फॉर नेक्स्ट इंटरप्ट. गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? अँड दिस इज हाऊ द स्नेक गेम वर्क्स. याच्यामध्ये 2 कंडिशन्स असतात, 2 कंट्रोल्स असतात. 2च वेळेस तुमचा प्रोसेसर वेकअप होतो. पहिल्यांदा म्हणजे तो स्नेक स्टेप फॉरवर्ड करण्यासाठी, आणि हा प्री डिटरमाइंड टायमर असतो. 999 मायक्रोसेकंदचा हा असेल तुमचा व्हॉट यू से टायमर ओव्हरफ्लो झाला 999चा की तुम्ही एक स्टेपनी फॉरवर्ड जाल आणि त्यानंतर परत स्नेक जो आहे तो स्लीप मोड प्रोसेसर जो आहे तो स्लीप मोड मध्ये जाईल. त्यानंतर परत जर इंटरप्ट आला म्हणजे काय, जर बटन प्रेस झालं लेफ्ट किंवा राईट तर त्या ड्युरेशन साठी फक्त प्रोसेसर वेकअप होईल, अदरवाइज इट विल रिमेन इन अ स्लीप मोड. दिस diagram will help you to understand this snake game very clearly. आता इथं दोन say if your processor is in this idle or you can say sleep mode, your processor is in a sleep mode. Now there are two types of interrupts as I have mentioned. One is timer overflow, म्हणजे 999 झाल्यानंतर तुम्हाला एका मायक्रोसेकंड साठी ते वेकअप करून त्याला एका स्टेपनी पुढे ढकलायचं. आणि दुसरा इंटरप्ट काय असू शकतो, कीबोर्ड हिट केल्यानंतर एक युआर्टच्या साह्याने ते काय इंटरफेस केलेलं असतं. युआर्टचा एक सेपरेट ISR असणार आहे. ISR म्हणजे इंटरप्ट सर्व्हिस सबरूटीन. ठीक आहे. तर सपोज युअर प्रोसेसर इज इन दिस स्लीप मोड. Now after 999 microsecond, this timer interrupt will be occurred. It will be interrupted by timer. So timer ISR will be executed. What is written in this timer ISR? Step the snake forward by one stage. This is what written in this timer ISR. Right? Step the snake by step up the snake, you can say, or step forward the snake. And again, after doing that, go back to the sleep mode again. And at the same time, your processor will be waiting for keyboard hit. Once the keyboard is pressed, key is pressed, then in that case, what will happen? In that case, the corresponding action is written in this UART. If left button is pressed, this UART ISR will decide to move the snake in the left direction. If you press right button, this UART will move the snake on a right hand side. After doing that, again the processor will go in a sleep mode. Right? So this is how the snake game is developed. This is how the snake game was designed. Right? So this is main design algorithm, you can say, and this is how the snake game was developed. Right? So the things which are mentioned here, movement of snake can be triggered by interrupt from timer. Just now I told you it will move forward. This movement of the snake can be triggered by interrupt from timer, and UART interrupt to receive the command from keyboard. So once the command is received from keyboard, it will take appropriate action to move left or right, and again it will go back to the sleep mode. So this is how low power application is developed. Second way mentioned is once you perform the task, once the action is taken, after that immediately keep your processor in a sleep mode. Right? So for that you have to ensure the small duty cycle. So duty cycle means what? T on upon T total, right? So you have to make the T on time as much as small as possible, right? So you have to try to make the processor stay in a sleep mode as much as possible, right? And hence it will reduce the processor duty cycle. For example, one example is given. Sleep on exit feature is given to you. Sleep on exit means interrupt असेल किंवा exception असेल. After handling that interrupt or exception, you have to go back into the sleep mode. म्हणजेच काय म्हणायचं त्याला, sleep on exit. हँडलर मोड एक्झिट झाल्यानंतर स्लीप मोड मध्ये जाणे याला म्हणायचं स्लीप ऑन एक्झिट फीचर. So you have to use that sleep on exit feature to avoid the unnecessary stacking and unstacking overheads, and it will reduce the wake up latency. right? And you have to disable some peripherals if they are not frequently used. So you can disable the clock sources as well, right? So here in this duty cycle and this pulsating diagram, you can observe once the see this is usual condition, this is the processor state. Usually the processor is in a sleep mode. Once the interrupt is occurred, the processor will be wake up, it will consume the power, it will perform the task assigned perform the task mentioned in that interrupt service subroutine, and it will again go back to the sleep mode. Upon arrival of interrupt, again it will wake up, again it will go, after executing the interrupt service subroutine, it will go back to the sleep mode. So this is how the low power applications are developed. I hope you understood with that snake game example. Now let us move on to the next point. Next point is, as I said, this one is done now. Development of low power application, just now we have studied. Now, next point is basic embedded C program for on-chip peripherals. So whatever on-chip peripherals are there, we are going to program them with the help of C program, right? So for your examination, C programs and assembly language programs, if some programs are asked, usually in examination they do not ask the programs, but if they ask, you can write either assembly program or C program, right? So assembly instructions are going on. So at the end, once we study all the instructions, we will we will write some programs, simple or basic programs we will study. Here in this here in this embedded C programs, before we move on to the C program, let us try to understand the basics of C, and then we will see some of the programs or programming examples. I hope this screen is visible to everyone. Is it visible? Is it visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Right. So let me tell you, as this Cortex M3 processor can be programmed using C language as well as assembly language, or you can have a mixture of those two languages. So this is very highlighting point I'm telling you here. 8051 तुम्ही assembly मध्ये program केला असेल, LPC 2148 तुम्ही C language मध्ये program केला असेल. So this Cortex M3 here, very specifically I'm saying that we can use mixture of assembly and C program in a single file. So you can create an executable file which have the mixture of assembly and C, right? So and Cortex M3 supports that. Cortex M3 you can program by using C language or assembly language or mixture of both. This table here, it will compare the use of C language and assembly language, right? So here it will compare the use, means the advantages and disadvantages are compared here. The C language is very easy to learn, it is portable, and it make it easy to handle the complex data structure, right? So these are some of the advantages of a C language. But it only allow limited access. It only allow limited access means it allows limited access to the core registers and stack. Means what? You are not able to access the internal registers of Cortex M3. So the C programmer will also not have the direct control over the instruction sequence generation, right? So the assembly language takes a longer time to learn and make it difficult to manage data structure, but it uh, allow direct control to each instruction step by step to all the memory. So this is the difference between C language and assembly language with respect to advantage and disadvantage, right? So these are advantage and disadvantages of assembly language and C language as well. Let us move on to the next. Here, I would like to tell you the things once again related with API. What do you mean by API? API means application programming interface, right? And in API, you have couple of things, right? And those things specifically compile, assemble, link, and download. These are the things, or you can say a functional block we should understand for executing the program. So these are the tools available in a API: compile, assemble, link, and download, right? So if you see this diagram, this is end to end diagram. End to end diagram means whenever you are writing a program, you are following these steps till you put it onto the processor and it will start functioning. म्हणजे एखादा ऍप्लिकेशन बघितलं तर दिस इज एंड टू एंड प्रोसेस. ऑफलाईन कंपायलेशन म्हणजेच काय, तुम्ही ऑफलाईन प्रोग्राम लिहिताय. प्रोग्राम लिहिल्यानंतर तो सी मध्ये असेल किंवा असेंब्लीमध्ये असेल. तुम्ही डायरेक्ट असेंब्लीमध्ये लिहिला तर इट विल गो टू मशीन कोड, आणि जर सी मध्ये लिहिला तर आधी त्याचं कन्व्हर्जन कंपायलेशन करून असेंब्ली कोडमध्ये केलं जातं. त्यानंतर तो असेंब्ली कोड, यू कॅन ऑब्झर्व इट हिअर. While writing a C program means what? Internally what happens? It will be compiled to assembly code. Means the C program, C code is converted to assembly code, right? Then assembler, you can say assembler. So it will be converted to machine code, machine level language. Then it will be linked to program image. Now here this linker will add all the libraries, the required libraries, startup program files, etc. into this program image. And now you have this uploader, or you can say this download. Once you download this, means what you are doing, we are copying the main program executable file, or you can say hex file, to the ROM, or you can say program memory of controller or processor. Once it goes to that program memory of controller or processor, then here actual execution of this instruction happens. So instruction fetch. Now here I told you every instruction, if you want to say it has been executed, it has to be followed through 3 stages. Those 3 stages are fetch, decode, and execute, right? So fetch means what? Fetch means getting the code from program memory. Decode means understanding the meaning of that code or instruction. And execute means actual action taking on that instruction. So once this instruction is executed, your application is ready to process. Your application is ready to use. So it will be able to take the input. It will be able to give the output. So how you can justify this flow diagram? See, suppose I am writing a simple addition program in C language. How will you able to do that? You have to define X, you have to define Y, and you have to do the processing like Z is equal to X plus Y, right? So you are getting the result in Z, right? So once you write such kind of program in C language, it will be converted into assembly language. Then it will be assembled to machine language. Then it will be linked with other libraries, and a single program image is created. That image or executable is loaded in a program memory. Then you can put it into the processor for fetching, decoding, and executing. After that, whatever data you take on a port, it will be added and given the output on some other port. This is how end-to-end process happens as far as electronics or embedded system or IoT is concerned, right? So this is generalized flow diagram of writing a program. Next is program generation. Just now I told you the same thing. Means what? If you have written a program in a C language, C source code. If you are not using C, then you can write it in assembly source code. So if you want to make it working, you have to compile it using ARM-CC, means ARM compiler, right? So finally, you will get the object file. And similarly, if you have written the code in assembly language, then you need this assemble using ARM ASM compiler. Right, so keep it in mind. In order to compile the code which is written in a C language, you require ARM-CC as a compiler. And if you have written the code in assembly language, you require assembler, that is ARM ASM, to convert it into object file. Right. So once you get the object file, you can link them with other libraries by using assembler ARM linker. ARM link is the linker. This is I'm telling you the tools which you should remember, because these tools can be these tools can be asked in a multiple choice questions, right? So if I ask you which tool is used to compile the C code, your answer should be ARM-CC. Your answer should be ARM-CC. Then if I ask you which tool is used to assemble the assembly program, your answer should be ARM ASM, right? Once you do this compilation or assembling, you get the object file. By doing this, you will get the object file. So now you have to link this object file with other libraries. For that, you need linker, right? So which linker is used in this process is ARM link. ARM link is the tool used to link the object files with libraries. Then by using linker, you can generate a single executable file, and you can put this by using downloader, you can put this into the program memory. So this can be a binary file or a hex file or a disassembly file. Right, so this is end-to-end functionality, end-to-end program generation flow with ARM tools. ज्यावेळी तुम्ही किल मायक्रोव्हिजन यूज करता त्यावेळी ही प्रोसेस इंटरनली होत असते. यू सिम्पली राइट द कोड अँड यू क्लिक ऑन द रन बटन, but at the back end these things happens. Is it clear? I hope it is clear. Right, now let us understand the program image. Here some map is displayed, and on the memory this is partitioned something like that. So whatever positions on that code region, बघा code region कसा असतो तुमच्याकडे. Can someone tell me how much size of code region provided in a Cortex M3? Cortex M3 मध्ये कोड मेमरी किंवा कोड रिजन किती आहे? Out of 4 GB, how much memory is allocated for program memory? It's 512 MB. It's 512 MB. I can go back and I can show you. Okay, maybe in part 2. Yes, here it is. So if you can observe this memory map of Cortex M3, this complete memory is of 4 GB. Out of that, code memory is having a size of 512 MB. I'm talking about this code memory now. I'm talking about this code memory now. Here we have this 512 MB code memory. Now this 512 MB code memory is divided in some parts. You can observe those parts: vector table, C library code, program code, startup routine, and remaining code region. So this is what called as a program image. Now let me talk about this program image. This program image have several parts. First of all, we have this vector table, and this vector table, whatever size is available, this vector table, we have assigned some values, and I told you vector table as well. We have around 256 exceptions and interrupts, and for each and every exception and interrupt we have one location assigned, so that if that corresponding interrupt or exception is occurred, corresponding vector address will be executed. Corresponding vector address will be loaded in a program counter, right? So this vector table, I told you, first location is initial value of MSP, that is main stack pointer. Main stack pointer is at 00000000. Next location is 00000004. This is assigned for reset vector. म्हणजे तुम्ही ज्यावेळी रिसेट प्रेस करता प्रोग्राम काउंटर मध्ये ही 00000004 ही व्हॅल्यू लोड केली जाते. त्यानंतर NMI वेक्टर आला, म्हणजेच नॉन मास्केबल इंटरप्ट जर ऑकर झाला तर काय होतं, हा वेक्टर ऍड्रेस याच्या पुढच्या इन्स्ट्रक्शन्स एक्झिक्यूट करायला चालू करतात. 00000008. जर हार्ड फॉल्ट एक्सेप्शन आला तर it will be executed from 0C. If memory management fault is occurred, it will be executed 10 onwards. Bus fault, if it is occurred, it will be executed from 14 onwards. Usage fault, if it is occurred, it will be executed from 18. Service call, supervisory call, if it is occurred, then it will be executed at 2C. Debug monitor, debug this exception is occurred, then it will be executed at 3C. Then some of the locations are reserved. Then pending services, if they are occurred, 38 will be the location. System tick timer, if it is overflow, it will be executed from 3C onwards, and rest of the 240 interrupts, those will be executed from 40 onwards. Right, so total 256 exceptions and interrupts are there. They are there in a code memory, and in that it's in a partition vector table. We have this vector table in the code memory. Code memory चे partitions बघतोय, ज्याची size, ह्या code memory ची size आहे 512 MB. Out of 4 GB, we have 512 MB code memory. In that code memory, we have these several types, several parts. One is vector table, second is C library code, then we have program code, startup routine. Right, so all C libraries are stored here. Program, let us talk about C library now. Right, so what do we mean by C library? Can anyone tell? See, this C library, of course, it's having all the necessary information to execute some startup programs. Right? So, sorry, it requires all the libraries. Like when you say delay, or when you say some UART functionality, corresponding subroutines are stored in those library codes, right? So C library code region of this memory map is utilized for storage of all the library or subroutines that are being directly called from main program, right? So this is what C library code. Then next region is program code. Now whatever main program you are writing, or you can say main segment of a program, it will be stored in this program code, right? So whatever programs, I can tell you the example. if you are writing a program for blinking the LED, in that you write a main program, right? And when you call the delay subroutine will go in a library code, and main program will be stored in a program code, right? So this is what the difference between C library code region and program code. Then you have a startup routine, right? So all the startup routines, all the drivers, etc., are stored in this startup routine. So even you can say bootloader. Bootloader is the software, or you can say sequence of programs which is required to run at every startup, right? So bootloader, these types of programs are stored in a startup subroutine. Here in a startup subroutine, all the bootloaders or startup programs are stored in this code region, right? So this is what just now I have discussed. Program memory map, right? In a Cortex M3 we have around 4 GB memory available. In that 4 GB memory, available memory, we have 512 MB reserved for code region. Then we have 512 MB assigned for SRAM. Again, we have 512 MB assigned for peripherals, then 1 GB for external RAM, and 1 GB for external devices, and 512 MB for reserved for private peripherals, right? So we have discussed those memory partition in a code memory, or we can say memory organization, right? So this is the memory allocation. Right, so this is basic data types in C. So here I have prepared this table in which on the left hand side you can see data types. Then we have this size, right? So when I say when I wanted to define that data type, what size I'm corresponds to, then signed range means what range that the data type can take, and unsigned range, right? So you just keep it in mind, where there are many data types available, but usually we use very few of them, right? Here we have data types like character, then integer 8, right? Unsigned integer 8, right? So the size of these data types is a byte. Byte means what? How many? How 1 byte means how many bits? Can anyone tell? 1 byte means how many bits? Of course, it is 8 bits, right? So when I say 8-bit, what would be the range that we can accompany with those 8 bits? Of course, it will be 2 raised to 8. That becomes 256. But here we are taking a signed range as well as this unsigned range. For signed range, how much it would be? It would be minus 128 to 127. And how much would be the unsigned range? It would be from 0 to 255, right? The next data type that we have here is short, right? So short means here you can write this in another fashion, integer 16, or you can write unsigned integer 16. So this short data type is having the meaning of half word. Now I told you word means what? Word means 32-bit data. Half word means 16-bit, right? So 16-bit is nothing but you can say 2 bytes, right? So 2 bytes means half word. Now if I talk about the range, it would have range from 0 to 2 raised to 16. 2 raised to 16 means what? 65,536. This is the total range. If I consider the signed range, means what? It would be from minus 32,768 to 32,767. And what would be the unsigned range then? it would be 0 to 65,535, right? Similar to this byte and half word, we can have the word. Means what? You can define the integer 32, or you can write unint 32, or you can say long. Means what? It means the data size is a word. Word means 32 bits. Now, what would be the signed range and unsigned range? Right. So here we are talking about 2 raised to 32. Means what? 2 raised to 32 is the signed range. So you can say this unsigned range is 0 to 4294967295. This would be the unsigned range. Right. Now we have long means integer 64. You can define 64-bit integer. Right. So that would be your double word. Double word means minus 2 raised to, this is unsigned range actually, minus 2 raised to 63 to 2 raised to 63 minus 1. This would be the unsigned range. And signed range would be 0 to 2 raised to 64 minus 1. Right? So this is going to be your unsigned range. Is it clear? Right. So then we have float. Float means word. Right? Word means you know that it's a 2 raised to 32. So the signed and unsigned range would be the same like this integer 32. Then we have double. Double means double word, right? So the range would be the same like this long. Then we have pointer. Pointer means its size is word. Word means 2 raised to 32. But here the pointer is mentioned in a hex format. Hex format means it would start from 00000001 to FF, right? So this would be the signed range for a pointer. Then we have enum. Enum means its size would be a byte, or you can say half word, or you can say word. So this is the smallest possible data type available in your program. Then we can have Boolean C++. Its size is byte. So you have the Boolean decisions like true or false, right? So you can mention true or false. That simply indicates it's mentioned, the variable or data type is mentioned in a Boolean. Then we have wide character. This is a half word. Half word means again 16-bit. Its range would be 0 to 65,535. Right, so these are different data types available in embedded C, which we can use, which we can make, which you can use in a programming, right? Next, now let us understand different data qualifiers in a C program. Here we have data qualifiers like constant and volatile. So let us understand the constant first. So constant, it never written by program. Keep it in mind. Constant, it's never ever been written in a program. This constant can be put in a ROM to save the RAM. It helps the compiler to check your intended code structure. Then second data qualifier that we have is a volatile, right? So volatile can be changed outside of normal program flow. That is your ISR. ISR means interrupt service subroutine, or you can say hardware register. So a compiler must not optimize or reorder accesses to volatile variables. And then we can say flags set by interrupt routines should be marked as a volatile. Then we can say about volatile, it's a memory mapped peripheral register should be marked as volatile. Right. So how this data is stored in RAM? So there are three ways. There are basically three partitions in a RAM. So these three partitions are mentioned here on the right hand side. You can observe the diagram. The RAM is divided into three partitions. One is static data, second is stack, and third one is heap. Right. So typically the data can be stored in those three regions like static data, stack, and heap. Right. So static data means it contains all the global variables. It will have all the global variables and static variables. Then we have stack. This region contains all the temporary data for local variable, let's say parameters passing in the function call. Or also it will have the registers saving during the exceptions. Means what, you are saving the register contents. When the exception is occurred, you need to save the register contents, right? So this register saving can be done in this stack memory, stack region. Then we have heap. Heap contains the piece of memory spaces that are dynamically reserved by function calls such as allocation and m allocation. In short, we call it as alloc and mloc, right? So these are the three different regions how the data is stored in a RAM. Now let me tell you one thing. When you are using a stack, it will grow downward. Means what? You will use topmost position first. If you want to use next position, it will move downward. So that's why it is called as a grow downwards. So while using stack, you have to use the topmost position first. After that, one step downward, right? So every time the stack will go down. And what about static data? Once you keep on storing the static data, it will be use lowermost position first. So when you are saving a static data, it will be stored on a bottommost position. After that, it will keep on incrementing. That is what called as a grow upward, right? Then this is the example of a program. Very important to understand different things that are involved in a main program. So this is example of data storage, how the data is being stored at a different location. See, you might have written lot of programs in a C language, but the thing is how the data is being stored is very important. How the data is to be stored is very important, right? So different types are mentioned there, different things are there in a program. So this is simple program. You can observe the first instruction, it is int, that is int a comma b, right? So what exactly it is? It's a static data, right? So zero initialized static data, it will go to that static data location, it will go to static memory location. Then we have defined constant char, c is equal to 1 2 3. This 1 2 3 is your constant data, right? So this will go to constant data. Then we have integer d is equal to 31. In that, d is your initialized static data, it will go to initialized static data. Then you have initialized its value to 31. This 31 is your initialization data, it will go to initialization of data. Then we have integer I. This integer I is again a static data, it will go to corresponding location, right? Then you have a character f into bracket 32, right? So this 32 indicates your static data, it will go to static data. Then you have here array. We know that the component of array are addressed by index positions, right? So the array will go to heap data. Every time it will be incremented by index position. Means what? Suppose you have first position, it is located, it is stored on some heap data. So if you address some next indexed location, it will be incremented by 1, and appropriate value of that array will be stored in heap data. Then you have a is equal to d plus 7. This is nothing but your program code text, it will go to program code text. And then we have printf hello. This is your runtime library code. Now this is what called as a library. So the things which are corresponds to printing function, it is stored in a library, right? So this is why the library codes are required. So if the library code is not given to you, if the library code is not available to you, you have to specify how the print function will operate. You have to specify what will happen after doing this printf function. right? So after executing this printf function, what is to be done is stored in that library code corresponds to print, right? So this is what the example of a simple program. Now, yeah, so we have this interrupt vector in a C. Uh, this point onwards, we will start writing the C programs, right? So we will discuss that part in the next lecture. Just to summarize what things we have studied today, we have studied low power application development, right? So in that, two ways are provided. Just to summarize, we have studied two concepts today. Number one, developing low power application. In that, two features, two ways are supported in a Cortex M3. Number one is to make the application interrupt driven. When the interrupt is occurred, uh, make the processor wake up. Or second way is to use a kind of a sleep on exit feature, right? So you can observe the sleep on exit feature. Use sleep on exit feature so that your processor will be in a sleep mode as much as possible. Once the exception is occurred, it will go for exception handling. Once the exception is handled completely, it will again go back to the sleep mode, right? So this is what we have studied in the first concept. Then we have discussed this basic C programs used in embedded systems, right? So initially we have studied the different difference between that. Right. So starting with the difference, when I talk about C language, C program, what is the advantage? It is easy to learn. It is portable. It is easy to handle complex data. So these are the advantages of C language. What are the disadvantage of C language? uh, Limited or no direct access to the core register, because we know the internal architecture, various special function registers are there, and C language cannot use those registers directly. Then we do not have direct control over the instruction sequence, and we do not have direct control over the stack usage. So these are the disadvantages of C language. Then we have assembly language. Advantages of that: it allows direct control to each and every instruction step and all the memory. It gives direct access to all the registers, and it allows direct access to instructions that cannot be generated with C program. And what are the disadvantages? It takes longer time to learn. Second thing, it is difficult to manage data structures, and it is less portable. So with that, let us stop here for today. In the next lecture, we will start writing actual C programs so that you will be able to use the C program to access the so that you will be able to access the uh, general purpose input output port that is supported by Cortex M3, right? So if you have any doubt, you can ask. Otherwise, you are allowed to leave the meeting.
Hello, sir.